In the middle of the first section of Ois Yudalef. And here we are.
Section?
Huh?
Middle of first section?
Of Ois Yudalef, or page of Gimel. And here we are challenged to understand the principle of ohrot, which we are already engaged in a few days. And the challenge here is to understand ohr as distinct from keilim, and yet to understand ohr as a presence. I want to give us a little bit of a first step into understand the principle of understanding the principle of ohrot. This is illustrated by things that we have already discussed in the past. But we want to emphasize certain aspects of it. We said many times that there is a logical process that a person employs in identifying and understanding what he's seeing. For example, if you see a cup on the table, you know without a doubt that the cup was put down on the table. It was put there. There are many venues to understanding and recognizing this principle. It seems to be a very simple thing. Yet there are many different venues, and the difference between them is vast, like day and night. Cup could not have put itself in there. The table did not create the cup in this place. That you know for sure. Because they don't have the capacity, the capability of doing that. Neither is there a compelling element that the cup should be on the table. Therefore, it means that there was a time when the table was without a cup, and the time when the cup was in a different place than the table, and now they are joined together. This is something which is totally obvious, and therefore it is perfectly appropriate for one to ask, who put the cup on the table? You don't even ask, how did the cup get on the table? Because you know somebody put it there. Because how else? Just want to know who. Now you're jumping straight to the question of who put it down. There are certain things that you're taking for granted. These things that you're taking for granted is also due to certain logical imperatives. This whole process, and more and more and more, is in the realm of keilim. The reason that the cup could not be on the table on its own is because the cup is an inanimate object. The table is an inanimate object. They don't have the capacity, capacity to get together They don't have the inner capacity to understand that they belong together. They don't belong together. Two separate entities completely. The table doesn't even care if the cup is on it or not. Neither does the cup care. As we pointed out in the past, compare this phenomenon. When you see a cup on the table and you're certain 100% that somebody put it down, because of all the negative reasoning, but it's there's no other way that it can happen. The cup does not scream out and say, "Look, I was put there." It doesn't say that. It said, "I couldn't have gotten there if not without somebody put me down there." Compare this view to a situation where you come in and you see a person putting the cup down on the table. You actually see him putting it down. When you see a person putting it down, it is not merely that you know who put it down, but the cup on the table at this point represents something totally different. It doesn't represent a cup on the table. It represents the person who put it down. This is his cup. It's not a cup on the table. This is his cup. It's there to serve him. And that's what it stands for. It's a totally different meaning. It's a reality in and of itself. Yehuda is shaking his hand. Is Jameson shaking his hand? Hello?
Seems okay.
No, okay is not good enough, because I want to take it a step further.
I mean, we're belaboring this point, but it seems fairly straightforward.
This is not belaboring this point. Okay, let me explain to you why I'm belaboring this point. Because, again, this is not merely logic. You cannot explain this phenomenon to a dog. No way.
The difference between a man putting it down and seeing it?
No. You said you're belaboring the point. No. Don't even take me there. You said you don't see what's the big thing that I'm belaboring. So I'm saying this is something which only you can see. There's no way that you can explain it to a dog.
This something being...
No, there's something. This which I was just explaining.
Okay.
This which you feel I'm belaboring.
That the cup cannot put itself there.
No.
It's totally different if you walk into a conference room and you see someone's some notebook on the table, or if you see you're in the middle of a meeting and you know that this is a notebook that belongs to this guy.
Okay.
The notebook itself is...
See, we are missing the talk. We are used to strip down logic, lifeless logic, unintelligent logic, instinctive logic. But we are intelligent. That's the whole principle that Beis has created the human being, an intelligent being. He sees things from a different perspective completely. He sees living things. I said I want to take it a step further, and you understand what this is about. By human intelligence, when you see a cup on the table, you don't even see a cup on the table. You see a human being. You see the human element in it. Not a question how it got there. Not through the certain actions. But what does it represent? What am I seeing? Am I seeing a cup on the table and I'm questioning how it got there? Or what am I seeing? This is what intelligence is about.
Is there still a difference if you see the person putting down? There's still a difference if you see the person putting it down.
The difference is that when you see a person putting down, even your keilim are aroused to it. Whereas if you don't see that, then only you oir, only the oir hachoch. This is the difference between oiris and keilim. Keilim hide and they're malim what this is about. And you have to apply logic and deduction. What is it about? We speak about very soon. We spoke about the table. The table is about Mabim Halachas. We constantly talking about the table, and at this point we already have pointed out quite clearly the principle of the table is not an external desire. It's not the invention of a good carpenter. It's something which is rooted in the soul of man. This is where intelligence comes in. Oiros and keilim. We talk about oiros atzilus and keilim atzilus. Keilim atzilus is also lakus mamash, as we said. Totally different things. Oiros atzilus heim keili hayalam so much. Even though keilim also we said keilim atzilus also. We raise them to a highest level, a lakus mamash. Oiris are a different category. On the pertaining to us, on the human level, this is the difference. The oiris, the intelligence, identifies directly with the oir rather than the keili. Not how it got here or who made it. What does it stand for? What does it represent? The reason that the intelligence, the Sechel, recognizes that it represents something is that Sechel is based on what the Rambam says, that there is a Motzur Ishin, the first being. And everything that you see is an emanation of the first being. It is not the creation out of nothingness. Nothing comes from nothingness. This is on a very general level, but on a more contained level, more in context. If you are, let me explain before I go with this. I'm going to explain the principle I'm going to. In context, out of context. What does that mean? We pointed out really a nominal thing. Did you ever see people, there are people who by nature, in shul, constantly walking back and forth, without stop, comes to the walk, turns around, constantly walking.
Pacing?
Huh?
Like pacing?
Pacing. Constantly pacing.
I hate that.
Huh?
I hate that.
Don't do it.
I don't do it.
Okay.
But I'm like, it makes me nervous.
Okay, that's something else already. But they're constantly pacing. Now, can you imagine how much it covers in this pacing? A huge amount. Can you imagine him covering this distance in the street? It would be a real challenge. He'd be exhausted in no time. He's pacing a whole hour. To walk from here to Borough Park is an hour. You go to Borough Park, you get tired. He's like fresh, like nothing happened. Like nothing happened. Why is that? Because he's walking within a context.
Within context?
Yeah, within the room. He doesn't make an effort to go someplace. He's always in the same place.
I'm missing the point. You're making an interesting. It's not obvious. What you're saying that he doesn't get tired out because he's in the same place. Is that he can do it and
It's like nothing happened.
It's no expense of energy.
That's right.
So the effort is not in the mechanical walking.
That's
it's
right.
in the.
That's right. It's in the mindset. He is not exerting himself at all. Physically, on the contrary, it's good exercise. That's all it is.
Sleepwalkers aren't tired out by what they do.
I don't know about sleepwalkers. I don't think so. It's an interesting phenomenon. I mean, you see a man walking back and forth an hour, 2 hours, and nothing happened. And he walks out and he walks down the block and he says, "Oh, I need to go sit down." This is even, so to speak, within the worldly arena.
There's a fellow who does it in the shul, and he's energized by it.
There you have it.
He's energized by the davening.
Did you ever consider 770 is a pretty large room? Did you ever consider, I have to walk over there? You have to go down the block. You said, I have to go down the block. If you have to go, I'm there. This is an important phenomenon. Why? Because human beings are carried by their spirit. When the Gemara says halachically, hachai noisi yasatzma. Everybody know what that means? Hachai noisi yasatzma. If there's an element of chayus, noisi yasatzma. The chayus he carries him. Yes, of course, he has to stand on the ground, but that's about it. This is the difference between ohrot and keili. Intelligence, human intellect, relates to the ohrot. The living element of this. Therefore, when he sees a cup on the table, he doesn't see a cup on the table. He sees the human being sitting by the cup.
Sorry, I just missed the you were talking about the walking, and then what's this is human intelligence.
This is demonstrating the principle that that the spirit relates to the spirit, not to the physical phenomenon. And this is what ohrot are. Ohrot are connected to their source, to the etzem. When you see a cup on the table, inside the keilim you see a cup on the table. Inside the ohrot you see the human being holding the cup. It's not even on the table. The table is holding it for this person.
Depends on if the cup is full or empty. If it's been obviously used and it's just been left there, so you take it off, you clear it away. It's just a cup now.
So we understand this is the principle of ohrot. And this is what the Rebbe says. The ohrot are in a different category. They are representing the Ayin himself, and the ohrot per se are revealing that which is contained in the Ayin HaMatzil. And this we're talking about ohrot Atzilus, and therefore we have a completely different orientation. But I just want that we should understand, in principle, what is ohrot. And if you understand this principle, then we can begin to understand what we're learning. Ohrot do not represent an independent element. Like in our moshel of the cup on the table, it's not a cup on the table. It's a human being holding the cup. And this is why we say that the ohrot are bibchinas dveikus. It remains dobuk, remains connected to the essence, to the source of light. That's what ohrot is. And we always go back to a more concrete stance. And the Rambam says the first principle of intelligence. So Mamish is a word from the Rambam, more or less. Is that there is a first being. Because there's no first being, there's no context, there's no iris, there's no intelligence. There's no meaning to anything. So now we have these gyrations back and forth, and we have to try to understand the various twists and turns over here. That the kav is me'erin soif, gam ken b'chinas veikus. Okay, sort of 3 lines from the bottom of that section. Shehakav nagir v'dol bein sof, kav is touching and attached to the bein sof. Hagam the hakav nimshal gam ke al dei hatzimtzum. A twist. Even though the kav came as a result of the tzimtzum. Tzimtzum means that it is not directly a direct emanation of the oil soif. The oil from the oil soif has been removed. Mikom Mokim still, Hariham Shachosei Hu Mehoin Sof Shetiyat Tzimtzum. Despite the fact that there's a tzimtzum, ultimately, when it is reintroduced after the tzimtzum, it is reintroduced directly from the source of the oil soif.
Sorry, I lost the place. Where was the
That first section of Yud Aleph.
Yeah. Oh, we went back.
Yeah, we went back.
So, okay, oh yeah, Mikomaka.
See that?
Yeah, I got it.
I wanted to going through all these various things. We're going back and forth. The reason we go back and forth is because there are these multiple variants over there. But ultimately, it's oil and not keili. Okay, we have that in the 3 lines, 4 lines on the bottom. Even though that it actually it comes through, by way of skipping through the tzimtzum. When you say skipping through the tzimtzum, what does that mean? That there is a moment where it wasn't. If the moment is wasn't, it's not Ayin Soif. But it's dilug tzimtzum. It skips through the tzimtzum. And as we explained the first time we came to this, what is a skip? Were you there? A skip means you don't skip discordantly. You skip the initiation, the energizer of the skip is from the original place. In order to skip, you have to push against the ground where you are, and that gives you that propels you across the
gap,
the barrier, the gap. So there is a connection. So it is. There is a gap. There are dilug hatzimtzum. K'moshal hasayros al dehav shehakav. Like in the case of the Sayro, this is all Mishorim that comes from Kabbalah sources directly. The Sayros have shehakav, the hair that grow after the intermission or obstruction of the gogelas of the skull. Skull is relatively insensitive and not an non-living entity, just a bone. The force that allows the skull to produce hair is a chayus that comes from not from the skull itself, from by imbuing the chayus through the skull. Just a few more words. Even though there is a hefsek al ugelis, there is the interruption of the ugelis. The Cyrus ultimately, they draw their chayus from the moyach. The moyach somehow emanates chayus through the gogelis, and this chayus is manifest in the form of Cyrus. Yes.
Just in terms of the language that the Rebbe uses here, the im hiyos, that seems to be setting up a contrast, some kind of like, although the way that you explain dilug hatzimtzum is that those words themselves imply that there's a connection to lifnei hatzimtzum. What's the
No. That is in the Mekomokim that follows.
The Mekomokim that follows is the Cyrus.
No. Mekomokim yenke mehamoyach.
Yeah.
Dilug, it skips across the skull. But how does it skip? What gives it the impetus to skip?
Okay, so that's explaining dilug, basically.
That's explaining dilug. Dilug means, yes, there is an interruption. But despite the interruption, you're still connected to the source. This is what oil is. Just 1 second. When Yidden stood at Har Sinai, and they said Nasa v'nishma, which sounds like they completely distracted themselves from their own intelligence. I don't need to Nasa v'nishma, Nasa. No intelligence. Not true. It's in the shehakav Geilus. The intelligence is still protruding through. It's still energizing it. It's still giving it chayes. But this is the Ellul. It still comes from the same source. Directly from the Mayach.
Trying to understand that muscle. Where's the deal? The deal. In other words, Nasa v'nishma.
Nasa v'nishma.
That you're relating more to the giver. Of
I don't need to understand.
Yeah.
Are you intelligent man or not?
Right. So there's intelligence in that statement. In other
That's
words.
right. There's intelligence behind it. Profound intelligence. Intelligence to that extent that I am going to relate to something that is no way that I can grasp it in keili. I can only relate to it if I relate to it directly. That's intelligence. Yes, Shmuel.
Yeah, it's just interesting. I had to do some medical, some
Okay.
biological research on this, but it's interesting that the hairs of the rest of the body have a growth that is, it has limited. Okay, the hair, and even though they're not separated by a skull, by anything hard, it just comes right through the brainstem, the life force, and yet they're balei gvul. The hair of the head, which is on top of the skull, is balei gvul. You can grow